Attention please. This upload is only for educational purpose. No intention to infringe copyrights. Learning English with subtitles. GPITRAL. GPITRAL. Definitely a must-see. Follow us.
One day in 1973, truck driver Terry Eldershoff was driving through the Badlands on notorious Route 666. Suddenly, a mysterious cloud started chasing him down.
It wasn't going across and moving across the valley. It stopped and came towards me. So there was something in this that was completely aware of what it was doing. But this was getting lower and lower, and it settled down right over the top of my truck. The dash lights were the first thing to go out. Then the headlights. Then the speedometer dropped down to 0. This green electrostatic lightning is running across the bottom of this cloud, lighting up the road in front of me. And I kept driving faster and faster. And you have no idea how fast you're going. You've got no speedometer, but when the engine starts to float, you're going as fast as you can. And it was floating. And this thing was still over the top of me. I have never been so scared in my whole life. I had no idea what it was going to do.
Eventually, Terry has no choice. He brings the big rig to a grinding stop. But that just makes things go from bad to worse.
I'm watching this cloud, nothing but this green lightning. And the wind kept picking up. The truck would rock, it'd buffet. Then the next thing I know, I could feel the whole truck leaning. And then it'd drop. And it felt like it was actually coming off the ground. An 80,000-pound truck does not come off the ground easily. And dry, so dry. I could barely swallow. My tongue kept sticking to the roof of my mouth. And I can feel this electrostatic lightning or whatever it is. It's reverberating in my jaw. And it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And finally I thought, I gotta get out of here.
It was as if this cloud was a hunter, and Terry, the hunted.
The only thing I could think of was to get out of its line of sight. So I jumped back in the back. The vibration in my head, it made it feel like it was going to explode. I was going out of my mind with the noise.
The looming dark cloud and green flashes of light disappear. As he opens his eyes, Terry is greeted with sun and blue skies.
I woke up looking out the windshield, sitting in the driver's seat exactly as I am right now. And I don't remember getting in the driver's seat. Everything's working. All the lights are back on. And I looked down at my watch, and 4 hours went by. And I ended up driving over 100 miles and do not remember doing it.
When a cloud doesn't behave like a cloud, and it doesn't behave like a lightning storm, and it behaves like a predator, something's going on. There have been a lot of stories of this strange electric fog phenomenon, or of a UFO coming out of a cloud. So that wasn't the first story of something hidden in a cloud that was strange. It was like using a cloud as cover.
There's something not right with that road. You know, when they call it the Devil's Highway, they weren't lying.
Terry doesn't know how he survived his run on Highway 666. When trucker Carl Smith was up against this road, he didn't think he'd ever see daylight.
I had to keep complete control of this truck, or it's gonna be me down in that ditch. And then I got the strangest feeling, like somebody's trying to get my attention, but it was an eerie type of feeling.
Alongside Carl, a swirling mist appears on the passenger seat, which then manifests itself into the shape of a man's face.
Then I looked and I seen this figure next to me in the passenger seat. It was like a misty fog of this silhouette of a person actually sitting there.
The man with the distorted face, long wavy hair and crooked teeth snarls at Carl.
I was afraid to stare it down. Kind of like staring down a wild dog, you know, you stare at it and it jumps at you.
In the midst of a white-knuckle drive on Highway 666, trucker Carl Smith suddenly noticed he's not alone.
I'm trying not to stare at this thing next to me and keep on the road straight going ahead. This person or entity, whichever anybody wants to call it, now it's a complete distraction. And now I'm looking at, well, okay, I could turn too far. I'll end up off into this canyon somewhere. It becomes very nerve-wracking. Every muscle in your body is like tense at that moment. You're just like, whoa, this can be it. When I finally built up some more nerve there, I glanced back over again. Then it was just faded away. And it was just gone and everything was just like nothing happened except for my nerves were still all on end.
Carl turned the last corner. The road ahead was straight and flat.
It just all hit me like a big shock, like, you know, what the hell did I just go through? You know, what's going on here?
Carl pulls over to check his truck and gather his nerves.
I popped the hood. I thought, well, maybe I blew a coolant line. I thought maybe one of my AC lines was broken. And I couldn't find anything wrong with my truck.
What was the explanation? Why Carl? This truck? Or that road? As soon as he could, Carl parked at a local truck stop.
I started talking to other truck drivers. And a couple of them said, well, yeah, that's happened a few times to other people to come over that way. A lot of the drivers and the people that live in the area believe that that trucker who gets in your truck with you tries to guide you through that section of road where it caused him his demise.
One possibility that occurs to me is that there are some kinds of guardians that look out for travelers.
I have friends that think that it's evil just because of the 666, with that being the devil's number, but I feel there's also good spirits that could be warning you.
I really don't know what it was next to me. It could have been a guardian. I never got a direct concept of anything of what it really wanted with me. I could believe that the person that was in my truck or the spirit that was in my truck was that trucker that never made it through the turns and didn't make it to the bottom of the Devil's Highway.
Carl climbs into his truck, turns on the engine and drives off.
Route 666 sparked so many rumors that in 2003 the federal government renumbered the route to 191.
Most people know that it was Route 666. You can change the name and change the energy of a place, but there's still that undercurrent.
My night on the Devil's Highway was one of the scariest nights of my life.
Long lines of cars and trucks travel on Route 191. A bird of prey flies high in the skies above them.
500 miles east of old Route 666, the West Texas Badlands meet the vast, empty plains. Over millions of years, wind and rain carved this region in spectacular ways. A beautiful, yet desolate place.
You don't have to get very far outside of town to feel very isolated with the curves and the twists and the terrain, the rocks and things. There's just always a sense that there's something hidden, something watching you.
There are a lot of legends and mysteries about this place, and yet I don't think anyone ever saw anything like I did.
Caption: Black-eyed kids.
Brian Bethel is a journalist in Abilene, Texas. For nearly 20 years, he's covered city politics, community issues, and major events. Brian is trained to follow the facts and get to the truth of the story.
If someone had come to me, a journalist, and said I had a paranormal experience, I would be interested in it. I would be open to listening to their story, but I would be skeptical.
Brian is a reporter in that old school style. Brian's not going to be the first guy to go. Somebody says that they've seen something weird, obviously it must be true. He has about the right dose of objectivity.
I have no good explanation for what happened to me at all. And it's one of the most frightening things that ever happened in my life.
In the spring of 1996, Brian was busy covering city council meetings and rushing to file his stories by deadline. Then one evening, he remembered an unpaid bill, one he had to take care of across town that very day.
Brian gets into his car, checks his watch, then drives through the town. A full moon hangs in the dark night sky.
The parking lot seemed very isolated. There was an eerie sense about it, but it was odd that there was no other movement, no other people. Couldn't see anyone in the movie theater. I did feel kind of a sense of being alone there. I felt a little bit of safety because I was in the light of the marquee. But there was sort of a little strange feeling about the atmosphere. Nothing that you could put your finger on. I just want to get this errand done and go home. I don't really want to be here.
Brian had his head down, writing out a check.
Two hooded figures appear from the shadows and walk up to the driver's side of Brian's vehicle, then tap on the window. Brian jumps.
There's this very sharp rap at the door, and it startled me. I look over, and there's two young men standing outside. They might be somewhere between 9 to 14, both of them wearing pullover hoodies. I rolled down the window very slightly and said, "Can I help you?" That's when things began to get just really weird.
Hey, mister.
The older of the pair did all the talking. He says, "Hey, mister, we left our money at home and we want to see the movie. Can you drive us to our mother's house?" He had this very smooth aura about him, almost a too smooth diction.
Come on, it won't take long.
That you would not expect from a child. Almost immediately, there was this primal, terrible fear that began to grip me. There's something wrong about them. And it's not just the smoothness of the spokesman. Some part of my primal brain is saying, "Run, you fool."